Okay, so we are going live. In 5 seconds, we can start. We are live. Ahmed Tahiri, you can start.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrahli sadri wa yassirli amri wa hlul uqdata min lisani yafkahu qawli. Welcome, everybody, for Common Word of People webinar series. Today, inshallah, we're gonna start in Islamic finance. Our guest from Morocco, brother Dr. Ahmed Tahiri Jouti, joining us from Fas today, but originally he's from Casablanca. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum for all the participants in this webinar. I hope we will share some useful experiences, inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for being with us. Actually, before jumping to the interview, I would like to share Common Word of People webinar series. Organizers and the aim of the webinar series, inshallah, before it start. Actually, we are doing this series together with Turkish Participation Banking Association, which is the Union of Participation Banking of Turkey. This is a semi-official institution, actually, and Turkish Participation Banking Association is an enabling platform and believes that kind of cooperative activities with different stakeholders. And recently, they are very active, promote sustainability in Islamic finance, cooperating with the UN and especially Istanbul International Private Sector and Development Center, part of UN. And really, they are trying to find the cooperative ways between the sustainable development goals and the Islamic finance. And Vadi also, I would like just to say a couple of words about Vadi Research and Development Center. Vadi is a part of Hamilik Okulu Vakıfı, was established with an intention of creating new concepts and the models for the economy and the companies around our Islamic culture and civilization, as well as humanity's common experiences or words. And the center has engaged in a wide range of academic research and publications. One of them, of course, is Islamic finance. And both institutions, as a result of inclusive ecosystem and communication strategies, would like to bring different guests all over the world in order to spreading the understanding of responsible finance to people. And also, we would like to really focus on the people, environment, and all creatures, and sharing every effort on this issue is very, very important and will make a positive difference. And studies, especially carried out abroad. Abroad means out of Turkey, and will inspire all stakeholders of Islamic finance ecosystem in Turkey also to create positive development opportunities, inshallah. So that's why, by luck, we have wonderful guest today. He's friend of mine, Ahmed Tahiri Jouti is with us. Actually, before start interview with him, I would like to present him to you. Actually, he's very well, very well known figure in Islamic finance, but just I would like to say a couple of things about him. And he's from Morocco, of course. His bachelor degree in accounting and financial management from Tangiers University, and his master degree at the same area and from the same university. But in 2010, he started his PhD in Islamic finance and economics in the Abdul Malik As-Saadi University, and he finished his PhD with the thesis of contribution of Islamic banks in the achievement of the objective of the Islamic economy. Actually, he started his early career in conventional finance, and he was the auditor and the chief auditor. And then he moved to Islamic Bank, and then he just quit the professional life and started his entrepreneurial life, let's say. And then he became the partner and the co-CEO of Al Mali Group in Casablanca, and which is, I mean, they are very well equipped and mashallah, very good financial advisory company, serving companies and financial institutions, especially in GCC, in Morocco, in different countries. Brother Ahmed's experiences in financial industry, I mean, goes to different countries, like, starting from Morocco to United Arab Emirates, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Spain, France, Ethiopia, Somalia. Maybe I can lagging some of the countries, but I mean, he is just try to help financial institutions to start up, and he even worked with the different regulators in that jurisdictions in order to support the ecosystem and legislation activities of the debt regulators. So this is a huge, mashallah, experiences, even though he's very young. So today, actually, we would like to talk about his first book. Inshallah, is the really first book, and inshallah, he will bring a lot of good products to life with that experience. And the book is called The Fourth Market Theory and the Paths to Differentiation is in Islamic Finance Industry. Actually, the book published by ISRA, and mashallah, published in different countries. I hope we can have a Turkish version of it, and inshallah we would like to have it. So Brother Ahmed Tahiri Jouti, again, most welcome, and inshallah it would be create higher at the end of the interview. So the first question goes, of course, for the purpose of the book, The Fourth Market Theory and Paths to Differentiation Islamic Finance Industry. What is the purpose of book, and what are the new ideas in that your book that you are trying to promote?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. I'd like first, before answering this question, I'd like to thank TKBB, the Turkish Association for Participative Banks, and Vadi, Center of Research and Applied Research. And I would like to thank you warmly, Dr. Ahmed, friend and brother of mine. Well, the book, or the main purpose of the book, is that through the consulting assignments and research that I've conducted in different areas and different markets, I found that there are proponents of Islamic finance and there are detractors, people who are against. And the main argument that people are telling every time that they are talking about Islamic finance is that at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It has the same costs, it has the same mechanisms, it has the same purposes. So it's the same thing. And when you see the numbers and statistics, you find that in many countries, even Muslim countries, you find that Islamic finance is not having the most important part of the market. So I started my journey of research about figuring out what are the paths or the main pillars to make differentiation for this industry compared to conventional finance. And this book is, what is new about this book is that it presents six new concepts. And by the way, the book is composed of 6 chapters. Each chapter is presenting a different new concept. For example, the first chapter is talking about the fourth market theory. And this is a theory that tries to explain why Islamic financial institutions are adopting the interest rate benchmarking, and what are the solutions, and that these are just preliminary solutions to make these differentiations in terms of pricing mechanisms. The second concept that I introduced in this book, and the second chapter, is the neutrality trap and the incumbency protection phenomena. And this is related to, let's say, in most of the countries or markets that where Islamic finance is encouraged, we talk about neutrality. And in this chapter, I'm just trying to explain that neutrality is more a trap than an advantage given to Islamic financial institutions. So this is the second concept. The third concept is about financial migration, when we talk about the efforts of Islamic finance to include more people, but at the same time, it can create in a specific market a migration. So understanding this concept of financial inclusion or migration is very important when introducing Islamic finance in a particular market, because the main focus of financial authorities is the stability of the system. So when you introduce a new entrant, you have to make sure that it will not destabilize this market. So this third chapter is talking about that. In the fourth chapter, I'm talking about Islamic financial literacy. What are the main focuses of any Islamic financial literacy policy compared to conventional financial literacy policies? In the fifth market, I'm trying to predict a bit the future of the Islamic finance industry based on what I called in this chapter the collaborative business model. And these are trends that are common between Islamic financial institutions and conventional financial institutions. But in this chapter, I'll try to make some, let's say, some adjustment so that this collaborative business model can be adapted or appropriate to Islamic financial institutions. In the sixth chapter, this is the sixth concept that is talking about sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystems, which means to wrap up a bit and to answer this question in a more accurate way, there are 6 new ideas that are shared by this book. First, how to make financial pricing or pricing mechanisms different, how to make the regulatory approach toward Islamic finance different, make differentiation, how to understand when you're introducing Islamic financial institutions to a particular market, how to make this introduction very useful for those institutions and for the whole market, how to make literacy, because in most of our countries, people are not, they don't have a really significant level of awareness towards Sharia and toward awareness. So the Islamic financial institutions and as well as the financial authorities have the duty to work on literacy aspects. And maybe we'll talk in details later on those concepts, but this is the main idea. And how to prepare the future through this collaborative business model and sustainability. And when we talk about collaborative business model, the main pillar of this model is fintech, and the last concept is sustainability. So I think this book discusses the things that need to be adjusted and the future trends that we need to take into account when we are preparing the future. So
Yeah, Dr. Ahmed, actually, we are really working hard really to distinguish Islamic finance from the conventional finance. So what kind of value addition I mean the fourth market theory brings in that book? I mean how fourth market theory helps you to identify or distinguish Islamic finance and conventional finance and his pricing mechanisms. How you are doing it in that theory?
Well, the fourth market theory is trying to understand how are the pricing models adopted by Islamic financial institutions are made. So it starts with a virtual economy composed of three markets. The fourth market is, let's say, raw material and agricultural products. The second market is about industry. The second is services. So in this first chapter, I assume that we have an economy composed of the three markets, and the dominant, or let's say the rule that is governing the function of these markets is al-ghunm bil-ghunm and kharaj bil-daman, means the one who deserves the profit should bear the loss if there are any. So this is the main principle of Islamic finance. And in this market, I assume that there are four profiles of people. There are the direct investors, those who create their own businesses in these markets and create this added value. The second profile is the professional investors. The third profile is the non-professional investors. And the fourth profile is the workforce. So, and in this market, I assume that there are four scenarios to understand a bit what is the impact of competing with conventional financial institutions on the market and the pricing policies of Islamic financial institutions. So I assume in the first scenario that in these markets they're working on the basis of the Islamic principles. Al-ghunm bil-ghunm, al-kharaj bil-daman. There is no riba, no faiz, as you say in Turkish, and in this market, what we find out, there's no zakat. This is just a very basic economy. So what we find is that based on the other theories like the preference for liquidity of Keynes and the theory of perspectives, is that people tend to prefer liquidity rather than investing. Why? Because there are high risks. So what happens in the markets is that markets get tighter and smaller because of the size of transactions that is decreasing, because people prefer not to invest and keep their liquidity. This is a form of hoarding. So in this market also, I say for merchants to have higher sales, what they suggest term prices, term sales and spot sales. And in Sharia, as you know, we can have different prices for term sales and for spot sales. So to encourage to raise their sales, they suggest also term prices with different term sales with different prices. So this is in the first scenario. We move to the next scenario in this first chapter, and we say, okay, we will introduce zakat in this market. Same in this economy, we have the same markets, the same, let's say, profiles of people, and in the second scenario, we just introduce zakat. What happened in this scenario, or what happens generally, is that people, especially the three profiles, direct investors, professional investors, non-professional investors, they have to pay zakat. And when you have to pay zakat, if you keep your money or your liquidity or your funds without investment, well, every year you pay a portion of what you have to the zakat fund, and then after a number of years, your wealth will disappear. So zakat imposes to those people to have different behaviors, different financial behaviors. So if you have to pay zakat, maybe you have to invest. And when you get a revenue, you pay zakat and you safeguard at least your capital. Second behavior is you can buy things. You can buy cars, you can buy apartments, you can buy whatever you want, and you will not pay zakat because you don't have liquidity that you should pay zakat on. So what happens is that the transactions or the size of the economy will get bigger because people will consume, will invest. And if you say, okay, I will not invest, I will not buy things, I will just pay zakat. In this case, okay, it's fine, because what happens is that people who have enough liquidity, enough wealth, will pay 2.5% every year to people who don't. And this way we will create a middle class in the economy, which is very good. And this is a Quranic principle. So this is a Quranic principle that we have to let's say, to implement or to set in our economies. So what happens in this economy, professional investors, non-professional investors will invest and will consume. And let's say the markets will get bigger. And for the workforce, those who may lose their jobs, they'll get zakat. And in this case, we will safeguard their purchasing powers, and we will also safeguard or stabilize the prices in these markets, because the demand and supply will be equal to each other, so that we will have a more stable economy. This is the scenario 2. Then we move to the scenario 3, where we remove zakat and we put riba, we put conventional finance. So when I give you 100 lira and I ask you, okay, can you pay me back 105 lira? So it's just like if I buy and sell money. And here we create the fourth market. We had already the 3 markets, and then we create a fourth market. And then this fourth market, it is the main rule governing this market is totally different from the rule that we have stipulated in the beginning for those 3 markets. In this market, your return is guaranteed, while that the loss is not borne by participants in this market. So what happens is that all the investors will prefer investing in this market rather than investing directly in the 3 other markets. And what happens more is that the direct investors will prefer getting loans from this market, because they will not have to share any profits with shareholders. They need less shareholders, because they have direct loans from the fourth market institutions. And what happens is that, we talked about merchants in the first and second scenario, where merchants are suggesting spot sales and long-term sales, and the prices in both types of sales are defined according or on the basis of the demand and supply in these markets or in these types of sales. So in the third scenario, what happens is that I'm a merchant. I will not suggest anymore the term sales. Why? Because when you come and you want to buy a car, I'll tell you, okay, go and get a loan and pay me on spot. So this will make more pressure on spot prices, which will go up. And what will happen is that the term sales will disappear gradually from the market. And then the interest rate becomes the reference or the benchmark for the term sales price. Then I move to the fourth, let's say the fourth scenario, where we have the fourth market, and we introduce Islamic financial institutions. So what happens in this scenario is that Islamic financial institutions must attract funds. I need funds to develop my activity. So for that, I will have to distribute the same return to investment account holders as for conventional finance term deposits, in order to be competitive. And then I have the funds. I have to pay 4% or 5% or 2%, depending on the market where I'm evolving. And then what happens is that I have to make sure that I have enough profit to share with those people in order to make those 2 or 4%, let's say, almost guaranteed to them. And then I will try to make some transactions, murabaha, markup sales, ijara, etc. And what happens is, when I define my profits, my margin rate, I don't have, because there aren't any term sales practice in the market, and the only reference that exists is the interest rate that defines the price of term sales in this country. And then what happens is that I need to benchmark this interest rate because to be as competitive as conventional financial institutions. And then what we figure out is that our formulas are Sharia compliant. Well, the contracts that we're using are Sharia compliant. But what the problem is that the fourth market, the interest rate market, is dominating the economy. It's getting bigger, and it controls the prices in the whole economy, in all the markets. And in the chapter, will find examples of many countries where when your interest rates goes up, the prices go down, and vice versa. And what happens in this fourth scenario is that Islamic financial institutions, when they are introduced in such a market, instead of replacing this fourth market, instead of being the alternative, they are just being part of this market, because this market is dominating the whole economy. And let me remind you of the hadith of Rasulullah who said, at the end of the time, everyone will practice riba, and those who would not practice it will have some dust on them, riba dust on them. And I think even in this area, in this fourth market, even if you're not using riba, you will be impacted, because this market is dominating the whole markets. And in contrast of, or the opposite of what other people said, okay, when riba is practiced between Ali and Karim, so this is forbidden. But when it is practiced between a bank and the person, well, in this case, it's not. It's fine. It's okay, because it's an economic regime. But the problem is when you institutionalize riba, when you have institutions that are practicing riba, you help this market to dominate the whole economy. And even those people who are not, as I said, not practicing riba, they'll be impacted. So the financial mechanisms or the pricing mechanisms, because what I mentioned in the beginning of the chapter is that there were many suggestions that were telling, okay, we may replace interest rate benchmarking with Sharia compliant indexes. But the problem is not about creating an index. It's not only, we need economic adjustments, another changes in our business model, changes in our vision of how Islamic banking should be applied. In this chapter, there are some suggestions. Maybe I'll let you discover them, explore them when reading the book, inshallah.
Dr. Ahmed, thank you very much. It was a very wonderful explanation. I just would like to, clarify some of the concept you already mentioned. Actually, you are saying that if we diminish the effect of a riba market, or if that market diminishes, and at the same time, while it diminishes, if we can increase the effect of zakat market or the spot market, whatever, I mean, as a consequences of those effects, I mean, Islamic finance industry will be differentiated. So this is related with the market conditions. You are saying that if you are operating in a very huge interest based asset domination in any country, it's the natural consequences of that. Am I right? Actually, so what we can do in order to change it, what the financial institution can do, or regulator can do, and how for the Turkish Banking Participation Banking Association, how they and for what kind of subject they have to lobby for.
So let me remind myself and you about the concept of zakat and riba in the Quran and Islam. In Arabic language, zakat and riba have the same meaning. Raba yarbu, riba is mean growth, something that grows. Zakat is growing also. This is from linguistic perspective, but in terms of use, there are opposite meanings. Zakat, when you pay zakat, you have an income, you get a part of it and you give it to other people. So you reduce your income. While riba is the opposite. You got income from people and you increase your revenue. So from a linguistic perspective, it's the same meaning, but in terms of use, there are opposite meanings. And in the Quran, whatever he talks about riba, he say وَيَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا, means Allah destroys riba. وَيُرْبِي الصَّدَقَاتِ, it means multiplies sadaqat and zakat. Every time, so in the Quran you find out in 4 places he is just destroying riba, and then he is promoting zakat. And from this perspective, from an economic perspective, what happens is that in an economy, when we are using interests, this is a way to fight against hoarding, iktinaz, because you tell people who keep their money in their houses, you say, okay, bring me your money, I give you a reward. So this is just like a premium you get instead of hoarding or instead of preferring liquidity. And then in zakat is the opposite. You say, okay, if you keep your money in your houses, I'll get a percentage of it, they have to pay me. So these are 2 different approaches to fight against hoarding, riba and zakat. And in the Islamic finance economy, what Islamic financial institutions can do and how can they benefit from zakat? First, to be more competitive. Now the business model is defined, is implemented. Now how can we improve this business model? First, when, for example, for instance, I'm a Muslim, alhamdulillah, I'm living in Turkey, and I have all my deposits, all my savings in a conventional bank. Okay, I'll get, let's say, 4% as an interest rate at the end of every year. So what happens to me as a Muslim? Okay, I'll ask about it. They told me, okay, you have to get rid of these interest rates because you don't deserve it. It's haram. Okay, I say, okay, it's fine. And you have to pay zakat on your capital. If I had 1 million lira in a bank, so I have every year to pay 2.5% zakat of this 1 million capital, and I have to get rid of the interest rate I got from the bank. Even if those interest rates reach 10%, I have to get rid of them. But if I go to an Islamic bank to participate to a Catholic bankruptcy in Turkey, what happens is that the profit I get, let's say 4%, I get 4% per year. I can pay 2.5% to zakat fund, and I safeguard my capital and an income, an additional income, which means that in this case, using zakat, imposing zakat to people, or at least raising awareness to these people, well, people, even from a financial perspective, they prefer to get their funds in an Islamic, in a participative bank, rather than a conventional bank. Moreover, zakat, in the Quran, there are categories that can benefit from zakat, and among them there are people who have debts, who have difficulties. And in this case, we can use zakat to pay in Islamic financial institutions, to pay for people who are in difficulties. And in this case, we will reduce the cost of risk in banks, and we can reduce also the profits and the margin rates applied by Islamic financial institutions because of the cost of risk that is decreasing. And in this case, we can have a pricing that is more interesting than the one applied in conventional financial institutions. So this way, if we introduce zakat in such an economy, it's a competitive advantage for financial institutions. But what happens, and this is what led me to the next chapter. Okay, if I need to do this, I need the support of regulation, of financial authorities. How can I do this if I don't have the support of conventional finance? What led me to the second chapter to say, okay, how can I? What are the approaches toward Islamic finance on all these countries? I worked in Saudi Arabia. I worked in many countries in UAE, in Morocco, in Algeria, and I have a deep knowledge about other countries. And that's what led me to the concept of neutrality, of the neutrality trap. And in the neutrality trap, I said, okay, when a financial authority tries to encourage to promote Islamic finance, they say, okay, we're applying neutrality, which means we're applying the same rules to Islamic financial institutions, the same rules that we are applying to conventional financial institutions. But what happens is that those rules are more appropriate to conventional finance, not to Islamic financial institutions. And this neutrality becomes more a trap than an advantage. Let me give you an example. People, when they are just introducing new financial institutions, Islamic financial institutions in a market, they say, okay, they are focusing more on products, not on their business model to be profitable. They say, okay, we want murabaha or ijara to be to have the same tax costs like any conventional loan. And the financial authority says, okay, it's fine, you have it. And then once you have it, neutrality becomes the main principle that is leading the regulatory approach towards Islamic financial institutions. So if you say, okay, I'm a Islamic financial institutions, I can get zakat and pay for people that are in difficulty. Well, they say, okay, applying the neutrality principle, you cannot do this because conventional financial institutions can do it. So you cannot do it. Well, I will have some campaigns promoting Sharia, etc. I say, okay, neutrality. You don't have to use this argument because you will control the feelings of the customers to attract them. So you cannot use Sharia and telling Islamic things because of neutrality. Okay, if you wanna, for example, for the capital adequacy ratio, and this is something I mentioned in this chapter, we have in the IFSB we have a simple formula of the capital adequacy ratio, where Islamic financial institutions are privileged because they need more capital to cover a certain portfolio of financing. And most of the countries, the markets, they are applying the second formula, which guarantees neutrality with conventional financial institutions. So once maybe you get tax neutrality, if you're good enough to negotiate with the tax department, you get tax neutrality, but then neutrality is applied everywhere. And type of neutrality that is leading to protecting incumbents. We are protecting incumbents, mean the financial institutions that are already in the market. So what I'm suggesting in the second chapter is you have to say, okay, if I don't ask for neutrality, if I set up a business model, would it be more interesting? I'll ask the financial authorities to apply, for example, the simple formula of IFSP. I'll ask them not to have neutral tax. I'll ask them to use zakat. I can ask them to say, okay, I'm Sharia compliant. If I can do all this, well, you have to reject neutrality. But if some points are not applicable, well, at that time, I can do something more, let's say, reasonable, is that I try to optimize neutrality so that I can differentiate my business model from the rules that are applied to conventional financial institutions. So, and in different markets where neutrality is the basis, I found out that this is a trap. This is really a trap. So, and we have to make things, let's say, more differentiated. And this is the first, those two chapters, they're explaining why Islamic financial institutions are aping conventional financial institutions, and we need to have more ideas about the way we can let's say reject this neutrality, optimize it at least, and to have a differentiated regulatory approach. Because regulators, most of the time, they are okay, let's apply the same things that we know. We don't need to think more about how should we treat those new institutions. If they do the same, so it's going to be smoother and more fluid. Thank you.
Brother, actually, before conclude, I mean, we have 20-25 minutes remain. So I would like to just orderly talk about Islamic financial literacy, I would like to talk about collaborative business models and Islamic fintechs and sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem. So before we conclude, actually, let's start from the Islamic financial literacy. And do you have any recommendations for any policies for this? Let's start with the Islamic financial literacy.
Okay, I'll try to be concise and precise and not take more time, much time. Okay, for the Islamic financial literacy, I told about first when I'm trying to make financial inclusion efforts, I need to make sure that people that I'm including in the system have the necessary capabilities and knowledge to have a good use of my financial services. Otherwise, they'll be excluded later from the system because they had not used efficiently my services. So Islamic financial literacy, as defined in many other, or let's say financial literacy in general, as defined in other research papers, this is a two-step process. First step is to provide knowledge to people to understand better their products and services. And then the second step is accompany them when they're deciding. That's why I give some examples using fintech. Let's say there are applications that you can download, you can integrate with the applications of banks, and then this application helps you to have budgets, personal budgets for housing, budgets for education, budgets for other types of, and it takes into account your location. If I'm in Istanbul, maybe it's going to be more expensive than if I live in Ankara or in other places. So the budget is defined according to your location. These are sometimes these are just simple algorithms that are specified. Sometimes we use machine learning to have exact budgets to make you a successful person in terms of financial management. And then whenever you have a purchase to make, if it exceeds the limit you have on this part, you got a message. Are you sure to do it, Dr. Ahmed? No, I'm not sure. Okay, I'll cancel the purchase. And if you are sure, okay, the application gives you alternatives to have the same savings. You can have economies on other parts of your budget. So I said financial literacy is not only about giving the knowledge. Well, this is halal, this is haram, etc. This is you can have savings, etc. No, it's also about accompanying people to make sure that they will do the right decisions. And then there is a multidimensional Islamic financial literacy. Well, in financial literacy, we are just about financial aspects, products, services, etc. In Islamic financial literacy, we have to make sure that this person is making choices that are in line with Sharia. Now we are moving to a business model that is based on technologies. So we have to also include a technological components in financial literacy so that people can use applications and make transactions through the applications. Three, for example, we have to raise awareness towards sustainability. Now we need to have business models that are impactful. Financial institutions, whether they are Islamic or conventional, needs to contribute in the sustainable development efforts. And we need the adherence of our customers in this business model. So we need to share with them the necessary knowledge to accompany them to select the right financial instruments, the financial instruments that are targeting, let's say, sustainable development goals, using applications, etc. And at the same time, in this chapter, I discussed also what are the flows or the types of financial literacy policies that we have to have. And I said there are three types of financial literacy. First, there are people that once we have Islamic financial institutions, there are people that will be included for the first time. They don't have any accounts in conventional financial institutions, or maybe they have just basic services. Now, once they have access to Islamic financial institutions, maybe they will have a loan, maybe they'll have savings, maybe they'll have takaful products. And then I say this is financial literacy for inclusion, for people that will be included. The second type is financial inclusion for migration. There are people who have already those services in conventional finance, and they decide, okay, I would like to migrate to Islamic finance. How can I do? How can I remove my commitments from conventional financial institutions and replace them by Islamic financial institutions? If I'm alone, maybe this idea is very hard to, this is something very hard to tackle. But if I have financial literacy policies, let's say guides or applications that can help you how to make things, how to make things seem easier to do, well, it's gonna help having more customers. And then the third part is the upgrade. Let's say I'm a business. I worked with a Perspective Bank in Turkey for a long time, and my business is growing. At one moment, I can use Sukuk, let's say Sukuk, to fund my projects. So I need, in my Islamic financial literacy policy, I need to help people to upgrade their use of financial instruments. At the moment, they say, okay, you are done. You need a lot of funds for your projects. Well, we can provide you with 50%, and the other 50% we can issue a sukuk. So this is upgrade. Maybe also in some countries you have Islamic financial institutions that have microfinance entities, and once those they are dealing with businesses, small, very tiny and small businesses. Once they reach a certain size, well, at that time we need to upgrade them to deal with banks instead of keeping them in the microfinance. So the main idea is that financial literacy policy can help people to get included correctly, to help people to migrate from conventional financial institutions to Islamic financial institutions, and then, and this is what is the most important part, is to make things upgrade. People upgrade from one level to another. This is a sign of success, because now it's not only about financing people and getting a reward on it. No, it's also making people become more successful and grow more and get benefits from it. And this is, I think, the main idea of this this chapter. I gave some examples. I gave some indicators to follow this financial literacy policy. So this is for the Islamic financial literacy. If you don't mind, I can move to the fifth.
Yeah, collaborative business models and fintechs.
Yeah. Well, for the fifth chapter, I said, okay, now the main trend is that you have, let's say, platforms, or what we say, multi-sided platforms. You can have, you can sell, and even, for example, car makers, they have their own finance companies.
Is it really important for Islamic finance industry to grow?
Isn't it? Well, of course, it is important, because once you have a certain weight, you can let's say enforce adjustments from an economic perspective. You can have more weight. You have more people to listen to you, to your needs. But if you are small, well, people will say, well, it's not a very significant industry, so we don't have to care about it. Let it grow, then we can deal with it. So it is very important to grow. This is the main focus, I think. And for the collaborative business model is that today there are, I'd say, electronic platforms that are selling things, and they are suggesting also loans. There are also, for example, car makers. They have their own finance companies to grant financing for their customers to get their cars. And this trend is, they are not competing, they are competitors, but most of the time they are collaborating with banks. For example, you can find car makers like Toyota, like Volkswagen, like Renault. They have their own finance companies, and they are working with banks. They're using the back office of banks to provide those services. So we're moving to a more collaborative business model where maybe instead of relying only on branches, we have alternative channels. So in the future, let's say this chapter is telling how things will differ in the future. Maybe all the front office will be undertaken by other players, and banks will have to focus more on their core business, which is risk management, which is let's say development of new products, and the distribution channels will differ. We're not going to rely on branches anymore. We'll rely on other partners that will undertake sales and front office operations. Now we have applications. Many of the banks all over the world are closing their branches. They are replacing them by more efficient and relevant applications. People used to, they are more familiar with those applications. Then in terms of sales, there's co-branding. For example, I'm Toyota. I can deal with, let's say, a participative bank to sell Murabaha on it. And everything, I take care of the sales, and the bank is at my back, is backing me. Today we have multi-site platforms. For example, I'm Amazon. I sell everything on my platform, and some of my customers need financing. So maybe I'll open the door to banks to use my platform. And I mentioned in this chapter the case of AliExpress. Alibaba. They have Ant Financial, their subsidiary. It was a finance company, not a finance company, just a subsidiary that is taking care of financing. And in their AliExpress or Alibaba, let's say, platform, they were granting loans. And they decided, because the Chinese president said, okay, we will be applying all the prudential requirements to all the institutions that have similar banking model, or those who are granting loans. So what happens is that Ant Financial decided to open the door of Alibaba platforms to banks in China, and to sell their knowledge and their expertise to those banks, such as back office treatments, risk management, scoring algorithms to those banks, in order to use the platform to provide financing. So at the midterm, I think that banks will have to focus more on their main core business. Branches will disappear gradually, not at once, and we will have to partner with other new entrants in the market. And this is already happening in some countries like China, a little bit in Europe, and in America. And at the same time, I discussed the concept of neobanks and mobile payments in this chapter. And I said the new entrants are developing new business models, but we don't have to forget that incumbents also, they're working on their business model. So at a moment, I'm an incumbent. I have necessary trust of customers, the necessary, let's say, relevance and trust. And I'm a new entrant. People don't trust me, they don't know me, but I have a new business model. So at a moment of time, maybe those two people will collaborate. One will bring his new business model, and the other will bring his trust and his, let's say, customer database. They have to collaborate to bring new face or new model to the industry. So this is roughly what I said in the chapter, but there are more details, more information about this new collaborative business model.
Dr. Ahmed, actually, before we conclude, I would just like to ask about sustainability and how it affects Islamic financial institutions. I mean, as a concept, Islamic financial institutions, I mean, are inherently having the sustainability. I mean, they are already born with the sustainability effect in their processes and in their doings, or I mean, do they have to? I mean, do they have to follow a certain path in order to be more sustainable and coming through the common word of people?
Okay, in this chapter, I discussed I think it's a very interesting concept, which is the sustainable Islamic social finance ecosystem. I mean, what happens in the real life is that people can tackle an issue, okay, or just tackle a part of this issue. What I suggest is that we can create ecosystems, and I defined three components. There are, let's say, welfare initiators. There are associations, NGOs, social businesses that are proposing or that are suggesting new solutions for this issue. And the second part is the social finance providers, and there are Islamic financial institutions. There are also waqf and zakat that can contribute in it. And the third part is the social, let's say, the system. I forgot the name. Social welfare initiators, and also the coordinators, the social ecosystem coordinators. Most of the time, they are regulators. And when we have the three types of people, we can solve an issue. I gave the example of SAGOT, Southern Agricultural Corridor of Tanzania. At the time, that ecosystem was created by, let's say, I think a Swedish or Norwegian company. They were implemented in Tanzania, and they were selling cements, agricultural products. And they found that in Tanzania, they need their products, but the problem is that they didn't reach their, I would say, their targets. So when they made a diagnosis of Tanzania, they found that there is famine, very huge famine in Tanzania. There are international aids, but they are just, let's say, short-term solutions. Three, the farmers don't have enough, let's say, financial resources to buy their products, to use new techniques of agriculture, and they don't have the necessary infrastructure to make
transport them,
transportation purposes. So what happens is that they gathered more than 69 NGOs, governments, international agencies, and they defined a roadmap to implement this ecosystem. And the Tanzanian government created what we call today the Southern Agricultural Corridor of Tanzania, which is larger than Italy. And they built roads with the support of the ecosystem. They created microfinance entities. They had free trainings for farmers. And now let's say the agricultural production in Tanzania multiplied by 2 in less than 3 years. So what happens is that when we gather all the efforts and we create an ecosystem, we can tackle an issue in a better way, in a more efficient way. So what this chapter is calling for is to create ecosystems. Islamic financial institutions can be part of this ecosystem, ecosystems, or create their own ecosystems. Moreover, they can mix. They can have commercial contracts and social finance contracts. For example, I've already published a guide about investment accounts, cash waqf investment accounts. For example, I can have a customer who will deposit his funds in a cash waqf investment account, for a permanent cash waqf or a temporary cash waqf. And if it is temporary, okay, I as a bank, I can commit to this customer that his funds, or 30% of his funds, will be allocated to financing that are achieving sustainable development goals. And then the income that is generated will be paid to charities that are targeting the same sustainable development goals. So I'm preparing my second book, inshallah. Maybe we'll have next year, maybe be published. It's about what are the structure of operations that Islamic banks can use to achieve sustainable development goals while using cash waqf. And we can use the same structure in investment accounts, in sukuk, in mutual funds, etc. So these are just investment vehicles that can collect funds from people that are interested in sustainable development goals and allocate them to projects that are achieving those goals. And financial literacy, as I mentioned, is very important because we need to raise awareness of people to say, okay, I would like to get some money, but at the same time, I need some social impact in my community, in the world. So I think this is the way I worked on that chapter. Means that we have to create ecosystems to tackle specific issues. Those ecosystems need to be upgraded. We need coordinators like government to issue the necessary, let's say, legal and regulatory texts to upgrade this system. And we have to find out on a permanent basis the new solutions, the new technology solutions that can make this ecosystem more efficient. Islamic financial institutions can participate in these ecosystems by providing the necessary funds, collecting those funds through investment accounts, mutual funds, etc., and allocating them to those ecosystems, and then the revenue will be shared by all these the stakeholders. So this is how, from my perspective, how we can work on sustainability or introduce sustainability gradually in the business model of Islamic financial institutions. And I think in Turkey, the Islamic banks are advanced enough to start trying those kind of product structures.
Actually, are those activities has to be, I mean, planned from the scratch, or can it be done as a part of the I mean, current Islamic financial activity?
Okay, Dr. Ahmed, let's take a participation bank in Turkey today. We can go to its portfolio of financing and check what are the trends in my portfolio. Do I, for sure, I think every bank can have a part of its portfolio that is assisting companies or individuals that are working in the field of that are achieving or targeting sustainable development goals. So maybe there's social house financing, social housing, maybe education. You have some laws for education, maybe for health. So maybe I can take, I can say the portfolio, my portfolio, say, okay, there is 20% of my portfolio that was dedicated to those areas. Fine. I can, at the beginning, I can launch an investment account, meeting and telling people that once you put 100 lira, 20 lira goes directly to education and to housing or social housing or to healthcare financing. And we are committed in, let's say, in this bank to raise this portion to 30% in the next 5 years. And at the same time, if you want to make your investment account as cash swaps, it is possible. And here's a list of associations or NGOs that are targeting the same sustainable development goals, and you can renounce your profits, and we can give your profits to them. And on a yearly basis, we can give you reporting how many, what is the share of the funds collected, what is the share of projects targeting SDGs were supported, and reporting about the associations and NGOs and social businesses that were supported thanks to your profit, and what is the impact, or in the SDG vocabulary, say outputs and outcomes. So I think it's possible to start with this this as a first step. If you want to build from scratch, you have to make sure that there is you have let's say projects or enough projects that are targeting SDGs to start a new portfolio dedicated to this, to a certain SDG or to 2 or 3 SDGs at a time. Okay.
Well, thank you. Actually, thank you very much for all kinds of informations shared and experiences. Is really appreciated. I mean, last but not least, I would like to learn what are you trying to achieve? I mean, with all endeavors. I mean, producing new books, articles, or advisories. What Dr. Ahmed Tahiri Jouti is trying to achieve as a Muslim. I mean, what is your mission and vision? I mean, this is not generally we are asking it to the companies, but I mean, first of all, of course, I mean, Islamic financial professional should have this, and we really would like to learn what is your mission and vision, and yeah, in that sense, what projects or books are you planning in near future?
No, my dream, Dr. Ahmed, is that one day we will present Islamic finance to someone who is not Muslim, and who would say, well, you know what? This is a better business model. This is the truth, and this is what we have to implement everywhere in the world. Since once if we don't reach this level, we're just trying our best. So I hope one day we're trying to bring new ideas to reconfigure the Islamic finance industry to be an industry that is accepted by everyone and that can bring real added value to humanity. So as I said, I'm having some interest today in artificial intelligence. As I told you before our meeting, they say some experts say that artificial intelligence is the new electricity, and we can achieve a lot of things in Islamic finance through artificial intelligence. There are so many areas where we can apply artificial intelligence, even in the waqf side, even in the zakat side, even in, for example, we can have application for zakat. Okay, I can send you my request as Muslim. I deserve zakat. I can send you my request, and there are algorithms connected to many sources of information. According to an algorithm, the algorithm can judge if I'm eligible or not to zakat through AI. So there are a lot of places where we can apply artificial intelligence. Second, I think there are a lot of fintech applications that can be applied to make the let's say the business model more interesting and more viable economically. And third, sustainability, SDGs, and make things stick. I mean, all the parts of the puzzle can make the business model more efficient, like cash waqf. So what I'm trying to achieve, inshallah, is through these books and through initiatives, through advisory assignments, to reconfigure the Islamic finance experience to make this Islamic finance more attractive. I think I'm not the only one who is working on that, but I think I hope this is the contribution I would like to offer, and this is the contribution I would like to meet God with it, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for all your time and efforts, and we really very thankful for the book. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase your ilham, inspirations, and to come up with the new ideas and models and books and articles. And of course, inshallah, you can touch upon many people and institutions that they can benefit from that. Actually, as far as I ask my friends that we don't have any questions, I would like to conclude. If you have something to say as the last words, maybe.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this initiative. I think those initiatives are very important it's part of the financial literacy, the financial literacy, but also to share with people who are working on the field, what are the new ideas, what are the new trends that we can integrate in our business models and our initiatives. So I'd like to thank you from my heart for you and for Tech Habibi. You always working on new ideas, new initiatives to make Turkey a very good place for Islamic finance, and to make Islamic finance very good for Turkey. So I would like to thank you, and I hope we can cope together in other initiatives and make things better for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Ahmed Tahiri Jouti, thank you very much. We are wholeheartedly, hugging you, and would like to, see you in person very soon in Istanbul.
Inshallah, very soon, inshallah, in Istanbul.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, to being with us during the interview with Dr. Ahmed Tahiri Jouti. It was our pleasure, and hopefully would like to meet again in another guest, common word of people in Islamic finance. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.